Welcome back to the Big Lad Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be answering all of your questions. Just before Christmas, I asked for some questions for a Q&A. It was originally going to be the first episode of 2025, but there were a few other topics that I've decided to cover first. So we're going to get into them. I've got a bunch of questions in my notes in front of me, and we're just going to go through them one by one. First of all, thank you very much for the support on the 2 episodes that have kicked off 2025. Really appreciate it. There's been a lot of good comments, so keep them coming. If you are new or just not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. This year we are really trying to grow the podcast, so I would really appreciate it. And if you're on YouTube, drop a like. If you're on Spotify or Apple, then leave a review. It all really helps me, and I really appreciate it. That being said, let's get into the Q&A. So, first question up is my opinions on hybrid training. As much as I take the mick out of it on social media, it is a really good low-level barrier to entry sort of exercise. Anyone can do a high rocks. There's not a lot of skill required in it, so pretty much anyone can do it because you are just going there and getting a time done. It's not like you've got to be of a certain fitness level to go and do it. So I think it's really good from that aspect of things, whereas traditional CrossFit requires a lot more skill. You've got the Olympic lifting, you've got to, I believe, qualify for certain events. So there's a lot higher level to entry for that one. I do feel it can seem a bit of a cult just from being in an outsider's perspective. It can be a bit cliquey. Maybe that's just in certain gyms, I'm not too sure. But it seems to be an all-round pretty good community. They're all pretty supportive of each other, which is great to see. If it helps people getting into the gym and just fitness in general, then I guess it's an all-round good thing. But I do see some people taking it a little bit too far, in my opinion. Each to their own, but it seems to be overtaking some people's lives. So I guess you've got to have a bit of balance here and there, but if that's your version of balance, then fair enough, crack on. Next question is, do you worry about AI in the workplace? And my short answer is no. I actually had this argument with my brother on this afternoon's lunchtime walk. So he thinks that AI is going to come in and replace millions and millions of jobs, which I don't think is likely. Yes, it is probably going to replace quite a few jobs, but nowhere near the millions. Because at the end of the day, companies need money, and if people are out of jobs, then they don't have any money to spend. Unless we're going to come up with some sort of universal credit or something, then I don't see it being a thing, because let's be serious, if there is going to be a universal credit sort of system, then it's most likely going to be funded from taxes, which just obviously isn't sustainable in the long term. So I do think, yes, there is going to be a loss of jobs, but nowhere near the millions. I think it's just going to integrate into the workplace alongside workers. Kind of like when the internet came in. Imagine everyone had been doing things by pen and paper and typewriter. All of a sudden the internet comes in. I imagine people thought millions of jobs were going to disappear, and it didn't. So I think it would just integrate within day-to-day business. Maybe companies will get a bit leaner, less employees, but not drastically, because you're still going to need people to do things at the end of the day. Like I say, companies need money, people need to be paid in order to spend money, so it goes hand in hand. You need people working. Also, I feel like it's quite similar to people's fear of redundancy. So I was actually speaking about this with my mate yesterday before the Liverpool game. I feel like people fear redundancy. Yes, obviously it's not great losing your job, but you do get a payout. So you're usually left with a good few months worth of pay. Yes, you may have bills and kids and stuff like that, but you are left with a good few months of pay. And I feel like it's the people that don't think they're good enough to go and get another job within that time period that really stress about it. And it's also, me and my mate were saying, some people just don't have the humility to go and take a job for the sake of taking a job in order to bring cash in. Like, how many people do you know that would happily just go and work at McDonald's for a couple of weeks just to bring some money in whilst they were waiting for something else to come up? Probably not many people, because they'd be too scared of the thought of what other people would think of them. So I feel like it's a similar thing with that. If you are confident enough to go and get yourself a job, then you won't be worried about AI. Even if you were to be made redundant by it, I'm sure if you were competent enough at what you did, you'd be able to go and find something else. Next one, goals for the new year. So if you follow me on social media, you will see that I've got a new job. I don't actually start that until March, but I'm already thinking about how I can get a promotion, how I can move forward in my career again. Last year I got essentially 2 promotions / new job. Obviously, you can't necessarily get a promotion every single year, but I'm looking at ways of how to get towards a promotion, at least take some steps in the right direction. So we'll see how that gets on. Like I say, I've not even started this job yet. Part of that also is to pass my IPMA Level C qualification, which is a project management qualification. That will obviously help me toward a promotion. So we'll see how we get on with that one. In terms of podcasts, I've set a target of a minimum of 2 per month. Ideally, I'm looking for 1 a week. I've said in a previous podcast that I'm aiming for episode 100 this year. This is episode 55. So we've got another 45 to go after this one, which is just under 1 podcast a week. It is essentially a podcast a week. Then kind of linking into my job and the podcast, I guess, in a way, I've always wanted to go to like a Toastmasters event. So if you don't know what one of those is, it's essentially where you go to an event and it's to help you with public speaking and just presenting in general. I feel like I'm pretty good at that, but you can always improve on that as well. So basically, I believe what happens is you go up to the front of maybe like not an arena, but like a big room, essentially with a load of people in, and you get given a topic on the spot, I believe, and you've just got to speak about it. But yeah, I've set a goal of going to one of them, step out my comfort zone a little bit, and go to a few similar events like that. I've already got a list of a couple that are coming up, so if I'm available, I might go to one. Then, what's your fitness goals besides just lifting? First one is rehab my knee. I'm going through rehab again for the 3rd time. Feeling like I could do with an MRI now because it doesn't seem to be getting much better, so there is a potential of an operation. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But I've started rowing again, just on the machine indoors. So I'm pushing the rowing. There's zero impact on my knee really. I've rowed a couple of times last week. Felt fine. Felt really good getting back into it. Still pushing some really good numbers considering I've not really rowed for about 6 months. So then I would push for the British Indoor Championships again in December because I did miss that this December through my knee injury, which I was really gutted about because they did a second day called Sprint Sunday, which was shorter events, which looked pretty fun from what I saw on social media. So yeah, they're the main goals. Obviously, if I end up getting a knee operation, then that kind of blows those 2 things out of the water a little bit. But yeah, not really got any necessarily fitness goals. I tend to go to the gym these days just for general health and fitness and like mental health, just to clear my head after a day's work, really. I'm not there for physique goals, to build crazy amounts of muscle or anything like that. It's just taking over and just enjoying myself, really. Next one. Do you believe / follow spirituality? So I guess yes and no. I don't really believe in all the sort of crystals and charging them in the moonlight or horoscopes or anything like that. But I do believe in the sort of treating others in the way you'd like to be treated and like good things happening to good people. I guess it's karma in a way. Good karma, bad karma, all that sort of stuff. I do sometimes end up in rabbit holes whilst doom scrolling around things like the planet being connected to a lot of things, and it does make me think a lot, you know, even things with mainly like the pyramids, like everyone says about this is my Roman Empire sort of thing on social media, but with the pyramids apparently not being a tomb and being much more of like a power source and how they were built, and I guess it's not necessarily spirituality, but I guess it covers a sort of connection side of spirituality to the earth being connected to people and this, that and the other. I'm not too sure what I think of it, to be quite honest. But I think from a learning experience, sort of finding your truths and having an inner understanding of yourself and what makes you tick is really important to sort of get the most out of yourself and your life in general, to be quite honest, without going too down the hippie side of things. I think, yeah, there is a sort of belief, I guess, in the spirituality, but maybe, well, definitely not as much as some other people. But yeah, I guess in a sense, there's some sort of belief there. What's your biggest pet peeve in life? Wow, I have a fair few, and I'll probably sound dead miserable if I reeled all of them off. But I'll reel a few of them off just from basically the last week or so, really. So rude people in general, people that don't say thank you if you sort of open a door for them, or say if you stop in the car to let them come through as like a right of way. Just people that don't say thank you really, really annoys me. Slow walkers and slow drivers. So, you know, like I experienced this especially around Christmas when the shops were busy, people just dawdling and then stopping in the middle of aisles and stuff like that. But then drivers, like, it was raining the other day on the way to work. Yes, you should be more careful on the motorway, but there was someone in the outside lane driving like 50 miles an hour and there was traffic down the middle lane overtaken, and yeah, it was more dangerous than actually just driving the speed limit. It was really annoying. Entitled people really, really, really annoy me. Just thinking that they deserve things in life when they've not put any work in whatsoever to earn the right to have stuff. It really annoys me. And I kind of got this one from football, because this is kind of like a different way of entitlement, but like Arsenal fans are really annoying me on social media at the moment. Like, they've won one trophy since Arteta's been in. If you don't follow football, probably gonna switch off at this point, but just fast forward it a little bit. But they're just like such an entitled team, and they've won nothing to like prove the way they're acting. Is really annoying me. And then this one is a pretty big one, I would say, across social media. It kind of links in with the whole cancel culture, but just people that can't accept that other people can have a different opinion, but you can still get along. It baffles me, like, especially when it comes to politics, because obviously there's different sides, and it just seems that if you support one, then everything else on the other side is completely negated. It kind of happens with football as well, I guess, in a way. If you support different teams, then all of a sudden there's just like this clash on social media, and it's just cancel them. But yeah, it actually baffles me that instead of just being grown adults and just accepting that two different people can have different opinions, but you could still be mates, or just still get on, or just accept that people have different opinions, that really gets on my nerves. So yeah, they are a couple of my pet peeves. I could probably do a whole podcast on pet peeves, to be quite honest, but I'd sound really miserable. Do you believe in the Matrix? So I guess this is kind of like an Andrew Tate Matrix thing, but I do believe there's some sort of higher powers than, the governments that you see on TV. I think they're essentially like puppets for the people that actually run countries and the rest of the world and companies like that. And there's obviously a narrative that they kind of push, I would say, without sounding too conspiracy theorist and tinfoil hat. But yeah, I do think there's a higher level that you will probably never know of or see or know who these people are. So yeah, I do kind of believe in a matrix sort of thing. Yeah. The world's a mad place, especially with social media and conspiracies. I think there's a lot of stuff that's hidden from people. I think you only have to look at conspiracies in general, and especially around the last few years of what's gone on. I think there's a lot of lies out there and hidden truths, so to speak. Next one, updates on the M140, future plans. So back in October, my finance with BMW ended, and I essentially just refinanced the balloon payment with the bank. I got a better deal on the finance with the bank, just did it over a shorter period of time, and just, instead of dumping the rest of that balloon payment out in one go, just pay it off. My monthly cost has dropped, and it cost me essentially like 400 or 500 quid to over the finance, so it made not a massive difference. So we're doing that, and basically because I just couldn't be bothered starting another car finance. I did originally plan to go from like my M140 to go to an M3 or an M4 or like a proper full fat M car, but I've always priced them up, and they've came out at like £700-800, which is like over twice the amount I was paying originally, and I just don't think it's twice the car at the moment. So I don't really see the benefit. I have started thinking about remaps and things like that. I thought about those ages ago, but I always said I'd do it after my BMW finance had finished in case I was handing it back. That may have caused some problems. But yeah, I've had a look at a remap. It wouldn't be anything crazy. It would take it from like 340 brake to about 425, I believe, and 500 newton meters. I talked about 665. So it'd be a decent change. It'd almost be like getting an M car, but just sticking with an M140. And then I've also thought about things like a Res Delete, which you can get pretty cheap. You can get them for about 150 quid. But I do have an M Performance exhaust already on the car, and because it's pre-OPF, which is around the exhaust regulations, it is louder than a newer model anyway. So on the cold start, it is pretty loud, and it probably annoys my neighbours, but stuff them. And then I thought about some cosmetic additions, so things like a spoiler, but nothing crazy. Just, there's this nice sort of, I think they call it like a VM shape. It's not your typical shape of a spoiler, but I haven't seen one in person, but it looks pretty cool. Maybe some side skirt, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of splitters and stuff like that, because you end up just scraping them and then you get annoyed. But I think I would have to look for a different insurance, because I'm pretty sure the one that I'm with does not allow any modifications. But we'll see. I have got other car plans for this year, so stay tuned. Something may be coming. I don't know. I think a few things have to align, let's just say that. How do you deal with your clients this time of year with all the festivities and nights out? Obviously, this question was from before Christmas, but basically each December, I will try and plan their month out in advance. So we sort of know what social events are coming, and then obviously plan in for some random maybe nights out or drinks. So basically this is so they can enjoy the festive period without worrying too much about putting a lot of weight on. 2, so that weight gain is basically kept to a minimum. But we do this by simple calorie banking. It's really easy, simple method of doing it. So basically, obviously most of these events happen towards the weekend, so we would eat less calories throughout the week, saving those calories, banking them up for the weekend to use. Say you might be going out on a Saturday, from Monday to Friday we'll drop everything by 100 or 200 calories. Then on the Saturday you've got an extra 500 to 1,000 calories to use. So you can keep your same average target throughout the week and still enjoying yourself, and still sort of either I tend to not have people in a calorie deficit over that time anyway, because it's just easier to add a few more calories, go to maintenance, maybe even a slight surplus, just to enjoy yourself, because basically life's too short not to enjoy yourself, especially around that Christmas period when you're gonna be going out with your friends and family. It's about creating memories, enjoying yourself, having a laugh, and then we deal with anything after Christmas. Come back into a cut, because it's all about balance at the end of the day. I preach balance myself. I do similar things as well around Christmas. Sometimes, like most of December, I tend not to track, but I've been tracking for that long. I kind of know where I am on a daily basis anyway. But yeah, that's the way we go about it. All about balance and people enjoying themselves. How do you find juggling your main job with being a PT? So I've always worked with a small amount of clients, and this is basically to ensure that I offer the best service possible, that I can give these people time, because at the end of the day, they are spending their hard-earned money with me. I'm not really in it for the money. I don't need it necessarily. I have a full-time job, so this isn't me sort of bragging or anything like that. I do work full-time, so I don't necessarily need the money. Yes, obviously it's nice to have that little bit of extra cash on the side, but I do it because I like helping people. I've done it the whole time pretty much I've been in the gym. I've been helping mates for years for free. They've come with various times with me to the gym for short amounts of time. I teach them some stuff, help them with the form, and then they go and crack on and do it themselves, or in sometimes they just stop going to the gym. But that's not on me at the end of the day. They're not paying me to stay there. So yeah, also I'm very efficient in what I do. I enjoy being busy. I'm most effective when I am busy because it keeps me occupied. I've definitely got some sort of undiagnosed ADHD or something. I've been told this by family and friends multiple times. So if I'm not busy doing stuff, I will just end up procrastinating, and then I annoy myself for being lazy. Not lazy, but just distracted. It gets really annoying because I know that it's happening and I can feel it happening, but I just keep doom scrolling and getting distracted. So yeah, me being busy is kind of the best George in a way. But yeah, in terms of juggling with my main job, never really had an issue. I've had more clients than I do now currently. I only have a couple, but I've had 2 to 3 times the amount, and it's not been an issue at all. Opinions on steroids. So personally for me, I won't touch them. 1, I have no real reason to. I don't really have an issue with building muscle. Maybe a genetic thing, I guess. 2, I have trust issues in terms of trusting a source, what's actually in it, where it's come from, what it's going to do to me at the end of the day. And 3, I'm a bit of a shitbag with needles anyway. I'd probably pass out any time I even saw one. A couple of years ago I had a blood test and passed out afterwards. It had all happened, done, dusted, passed out in the chair. It's not really something I can manage, I guess. It's just your body's way of just switching off, but it's happened since I was a kid. So yeah, I'm a bit of a wimp when it comes to needles. But it's each to their own at the end of the day. Know the potential risks, why you're taking them. Don't just take them to be the biggest guy in a pure gym at the end. Like, it's not worth it. Also, if you're young, don't just hop on them for quick results. At least wait until you've hit your natural limit, because you may get to your natural limit and find you actually don't need them anyway. One thing I've always said, maybe later in life, that I might be tempted by testosterone, purely just from a health perspective, like a day-to-day health perspective, not to put like muscle on or anything like that. It would be general day-to-day health, because obviously as you get older, your testosterone levels drop. That can play into a lot of things. So it would be something that I would potentially look at if I was feeling those effects as I got older, but it wouldn't be from a performance perspective or muscle building perspective at all. But yeah, the main thing I would say is question why you would take them in the first place and weigh up the positives and negatives, and then see if you actually really need to be doing it, because there's a lot of guys in the gym these days that are definitely on them and they don't look great for doing it. And yeah, I would genuinely question why you're doing it in the first place. Because if it is to be the biggest guy in a pure gym, then give your head a wobble and just go to the gym. Advice on how to stop drinking and doing drugs. So personally, I've never had an issue with either. I've never taken drugs. I've in fact never even touched a cigarette or a vape or anything like that. Never really interested me in the slightest. But I would say look at what triggers the sort of excessive use of either of them, and then find ways to stop those triggers from happening in the first place. I guess then you could also say, you could sort of think of the person that you want to be, and every time you go to overindulge in either of alcohol or drugs, then have that thought in the back of your mind and think that by doing this, it is going to take you away from being that person. You could also then, again, going back to it, write all the positives and negatives down for each, and I'm pretty sure you'll find the negatives outweigh the positives. Like, I don't have an alcohol problem. However, in a previous podcast I spoke about stopping the silly nights out I go on. It's really late nights, get home, it affects my sleep, and then I'm shattered for basically the whole of Sunday. And it just affects my motivation and desire to do anything in the next day due to tiredness. I don't even get hangovers. It's just pure and utter tiredness, and it just makes me not want to do anything. And the things I want to do outside of work with the podcast and fitness goals in general, just life goals, losing a day every week is going to add up. So that's 52 days that are potentially gone every year. Obviously, I'm not going out on these nights out every weekend, but it's 52 potential days that you could lose out on just due to being tired. So yeah, there's a couple of options that you can go. You could do one of them, you could do all of them. But I would probably look at the one of thinking of the person you want to be and how the overindulgence of drinking and drugs is going to affect that. The correlation of having a good gut health and mental health. Now, I'm not too sure on the science behind it, of whether there's actually a link to a good gut giving good mental health. However, I would say that I would imagine that having a healthy gut or not having a healthy gut, you're not going to feel great for not having it. So that could obviously leak into your work life, health and fitness goals. Because imagine if your stomach's feeling awful, then the last thing you are going to want to do is go to the gym. And we obviously know those feel-good hormones that you get after a workout. And if you've got a dodgy stomach or whatever, dodgy gut, and that's stopping you from going to the gym, then you're stopping yourself from getting those feel-good hormones after a gym sesh. So like I say, I'm not too sure on the science behind the link between a good gut and mental health, but that's the only thing I could sort of think off the top of my head. If you've not got a healthy gut and it's stopping you from doing things that make you mentally feel good, then obviously there's some sort of correlation there. Back to the PT. Do you have any success stories with your clients? And do you have any spaces? So I'm actually pretty bad for posting about their success stories, but I do have a highlight of some of them on my Instagram. So if you head over to my Instagram page, go to the highlight section, I think it's called Client Progress. So just have a look at that. And I do have a space for probably one or two. Like I said before, I've had 2 to 3 times the amount of clients I have now, but I would comfortably have enough space for 1 to 2 clients. So if you are interested, reach out. I can tell you how I work, how I can help you achieve your goals, and there is no obligation to sign up if you drop me a DM. I can just have a chat, jump on a call, and say how it all works, and there's no pressure at all to start up with me. What are your thoughts on injections people are using for weight loss? So I would personally advise you to stay well clear of them. I think the issue is in this age that everyone wants things in an instant. People are far too impatient. And I don't think growing up in an age where you can literally get food delivered in 15 minutes, you can get an Amazon delivery tomorrow, has helped any of that. I think as a generation, we've just come lazy and entitled. And I think we've forgot what hard work is, because these days, you don't have to put that much work in to be better than average. And a little bit of hard work can go a long way in terms of your success. And also, when it comes to things like Ozempic, I don't feel like there's really that many long-term studies. I may be wrong. I've not personally scoured the internet for them, but I can't imagine there is, because it seems like a fairly new thing. So I think probably for a very small portion of people, yes, it is worth taking. But that is essentially if you're literally like the size of a house, you can't move, and the risk of staying the weight that you are is a higher risk than actually taking Ozempic. But if you're just, standard overweight, even in the obese category in BMI, then do it the old fashioned way. Put the hard work in, eat less, move more, and it'll be much more satisfying in the long run, because you've put hard work in yourself. You're seeing the results. Yes, it may take longer, but you're going to feel so much better for doing it yourself, because if you just rely on this magic injection or pill or whatever you take to lose the weight, then there's no sort of dopamine hit, I guess, from seeing those results because of the work you've put in. It's just some random chemicals that you've been putting into your body. So I would highly recommend people just do it themselves. And if you need help with that, then drop me a DM, because I'm more than happy to help. I'll even give you a reduced rate if that is something you were going to look at doing. By going down that route, I will give you a reduced rate by making you not take an injection and doing it the proper way. Any advice about starting online coaching? I guess just do it. But what I would say is know your stuff, because I see far too many people these days on Instagram that have gone to the gym for 1, maybe 2 years. They've started enjoying it. They've started seeing the results. They gain a bit of a following online. And then other people sort of ask them, are you a coach, or would you go into coaching? And then they get this idea in their head that I can be a coach. And then they go and get the PT qualification, which is literally not even GCSE level a qualification. So next minute they're a coach. They've not got a lot of experience in the gym, never mind coaching. But the knowledge tends to be pretty minimalistic, so you're potentially putting clients at risk through either incorrect nutrition advice or poor form advice. So yeah, I would say the most important thing would be to know your stuff. Take your time to learn properly, know what you're doing. Don't just step into it because you've got some interest from your Instagram following. Do it properly. There's so many people out there that I've seen, and it really annoys me, because like I say, you could be putting people at risk, especially something like a deadlift. A deadlift is a really simple movement if you think about it. It's literally squatting down and lifting a weight up off the floor. It's a very easy movement to do wrong, and the consequences of doing a deadlift wrong are potentially life changing. You could slip discs, and then that could lead to a whole host of options. So if you're given the wrong form for a deadlift, there are potentially people that are at risk from doing it, and that's just one movement. So I would really suggest to learn properly before you start teaching others, because otherwise you're just going to teach bad methods and ways of doing things. But then once you've done all that, I would suggest trialing a few coaching platforms. I did a fair few of them as free trials. Quite a lot of them offer a free trial for like a week. Basically just put myself on there as a client. I used it personally so I could see both sides, and tested it for things like usability, and I ended up settling with Trainerize. I think it's a really good platform. There's a automated nutrition meal plan on there, so you can type in the calories that someone would be on, and it would automate a meal plan for you, which is quite handy if people want to use that. But there's a whole bank of exercises. You can add your own in, you can add other exercises from YouTube if they're not on there. And I'm pretty sure if you want to start on Trainerize, I can give you a referral and get some sort of discount because I'm already on it. So if anyone's thinking about that, then drop me a DM. But yeah, that main thing for me is people knowing what they're actually doing before they go and step in and try and help others. Last one, what are the best supplements to take? What is needed and what isn't? So I actually take a fair few of them, and they're mainly sort of safety nets. I wouldn't say they're all necessarily needed. I think we are done with the days of people needing to take BCAAs and things like that. I've never really taken them. You just get them from your food. I feel like they are heavily targeted, especially at women, with fancy advertisements and powdered packets and all the rest of it. But I would say let's start off with the basics. So protein powder, just a standard whey isolate I take. I noticed that my protein intake was pretty low for breakfast because I was getting towards the end of the day and then realising I needed a big chunk of protein. So I was looking through my diet and realised I was sort of missing a whole meal, basically, for protein with my breakfast. So a simple solution I found was just pouring a protein shake over my shreddies. Now, unfortunately, I can't eat cereal with just milk anymore. I have to have a chocolate protein shake on my cereal. Then the next one, creatine. Most tested supplement on the planet. Think probably everyone should take it, and then just literally watch your weights fly up in the gym. It is crazy. I didn't think it was as good as it people have made out on social media. I took a little bit of time off it, came back to it, and then noticed the impact it was having on my workouts. But apparently it's also showing signs in studies for cognitive benefits now as well, with things like I believe Alzheimer's, I think. I can't remember the study that I looked at, but yeah, there are definitely now showing cognitive benefits of creatine. Then I would say vitamin D. If you live in the UK like me, it is dull most of the year. Therefore, most people are deficient in vitamin D, which contributes to things like reduction of inflammation, promotes healthy bone and tissue health. So it's a good one to have, definitely. Then your standard multivitamin. This, like I was saying, is basically a safety net. So mostly you will probably piss most of them out, to be quite honest. But basically, if I don't quite hit everything my body needs through my diet, then it basically fills in the gaps. That's why I take a multivitamin. Sometimes I don't even take it, to be quite honest. Then there's a few others to take, things like magnesium, zinc, and I've recently had this lion's mane gummy, which is supposed to be helping with focus and stop fatigue. I've got a new tonic here, which I guess you could say is a supplement. But yeah, I don't know if this has got any lion's mane in. I don't think it does. But it's the lion's mane thing that I've got has got a few of the other things that are in this, which is a research-backed nootropic drink which supports cognitive function. So yeah, they are essentially everything I take. I take another magnesium supplement before I go to bed, which is magnesium glycinate. It's meant to help a good night's sleep, which is something that I've always struggled with. But yeah, there's a lot of them that you don't need to take. To be quite honest, I would say the first three are the main ones, really: protein powder, creatine, and vitamin D. And like I say, especially if you're in a dull country like I am. But yeah, that is all the questions from the ones that I got asked on Instagram. Thank you very much to all those that sent them in. If you did, appreciate it. There'll probably be another one at some point for some sort of milestone, hopefully this year, so keep an eye out. But that is all the questions. So if you enjoyed this one, please drop a like or a review, depending on where you're listening. And if you are new or just not yet, then hit that subscribe button. Like I say, I'm aiming for an episode every week. I've got some guests lined up as well, so they're not just going to be solo episodes. I've got guests coming in next week and then I think the week after. So 2 on the bounce, and then I've spoke to a couple of other people. So there are others coming, I just need to get them booked in. Obviously everyone's busy with full-time jobs like myself and like these people. So yeah, they will be coming at some point. I just need to get them in a diary, but they are coming. So thank you very much for listening, and I will catch you in the next one.